And away we go. Alright, let's see what me, Eric, or Risk have sent in the podcast group chat. Looking at whatever goes on in the world today and so on. There's nothing. There's absolutely nothing on there. Oh, it must be a slow day today, I guess. Alright, so I guess that is all that's in the group chat since the last time I recorded an episode of some sort. With that all being said, let's get right into the who's. That didn't make any sense. But here we are. Meta expands Louisiana data center to 5 gigawatts. Investment crosses $50 billion. On Monday, Meta announced it will expand its Hyperion data center in Richland Parish, Louisiana, to a 5 gigawatt facility costing over $50 billion, making it the company's largest data center project. Previously, the project was planned as a 2 gigawatt facility costing $27 billion, though a joint venture with Blue Owl Capital Inc. to manage the build-out and facility operations. Since construction began in December 2024, local businesses in Louisiana have received over $1.6 billion in contracts from Meta. The company pledged over $1 billion for infrastructure improvements, including roads and water systems. Bloomberg reported Meta is developing plans for a cloud infrastructure business, potentially selling access to, quote, raw computing capacity to outsiders akin to neo-cloud competitors like CoreWeave Inc. Chief Executive Officer Mark Zuckerberg has pledged to spend at least $600 billion on US infrastructure projects over the next few years to achieve his goal of AI superintelligence. I don't think any of this sounds good in the slightest. We own great superintelligence AI. Businesses in Louisiana are being given billions of dollars of contracts. There is investment for infrastructure improvements like roads, water systems, and whatever the heck. It may sound good. Yeah, that's all I got. I don't think anyone would ever be convinced by how this project will do any good to any local communities within the state of Louisiana. We've heard it time and time again. Data centers take up so much land by the looks of things from the pictures I've seen. And although there isn't much about a smaller scale version where you could just set up a mini data center on your own property or nearby your home, yet I would prefer the latter than the former, which is building large data centers that take up loads of land, when that land could have been used for something else. Agriculture, farming, small local businesses, a new town center for local businesses to thrive and create an environment for cultural and social events in the state of Louisiana. And the noise, good grief. I don't live near a data center, yet I can imagine the noise that data centers produce. It would be going on non-stop, 24/7, 365, plus once every 4 years. And, this isn't the first time the noise disturbances cause a nuisance to local residents. I know airports like London Heathrow, Zurich, maybe Amsterdam Schiphol, large airports nearby homes. There's a curfew during the night where there aren't any flights coming in and out of these airports, so that there is a moment of peace and quiet for the local residents. Well, apparently, it's a different story for the data centers. They can just keep on running 24/7. They don't give a damn what residents think or how much of a nuisance the noise comes from the centers. Cause the headaches of the local residents if it means there is some kind of benefit and some kind of benefit with helping AI become smarter, more efficient in its capabilities. And a third thing, now even there is an argument that data centers don't use up much water as what most people thought data centers use up. It still needs energy, like electricity, to run these things. And Sam Altman even once said that to meet with the demands of electricity for these data centers, people have to go towards producing renewable energies for these data centers. And he's right. Then again, there's already enough resentment against renewable energies, given that this is all fueling an agenda of facilitating or combating against the threats of climate change. I'm not sure if there's anything else besides climate change that the renewable energies industry has anything going for themselves besides the amount of energy they produce without burning pollutants that is a serious threat to people's health. Anyway, so I'll say this again, like I've said many times, I don't understand the need for these data centers. Even when people argue that having the existence of these data centers enhances the thinking power of artificial intelligence, the amount of land it uses up is a massive waste when the land could have been used for something else, for the local people. And I've heard been a handful of protests and thousands of activists, if not hundreds upon millions, saying these data centers cause negative effects in our daily lives, so on and so forth. And those are valid arguments. There's no arguing with that. CBS News anchor says Los Angeles scam nearly wiped out life savings. Recently, CBS News correspondent Matt Gutman revealed he was the target of a sophisticated bank impersonation scam, where a caller nearly convinced him to withdraw all his funds by claiming to investigate fraud. Posing as fraud protection, the scammer provided a name and badge ID before instructing Gutman to withdraw cash, warning him not to speak to tellers because alleged fraudsters worked at his branch. Gutman admitted he spent over an hour on the phone before realizing the absurdity of using a civilian for a sting operation, noting the scheme appeared legitimate because scammers knew personal details. While Gutman did not lose money, he lost time during the ordeal, describing it as a very scary experience, and expressing gratitude for support from authorities and his bank. Warning that these scams are incredibly sophisticated, Gutman advised that if contacted about account issues, people should verify requests by calling the number on the back of their bank card. Oh boy, there's a lot to say here. But let's start with the first thing. Why the fudge would you give any personal information to anyone, even if they say, oh, I work for the bank where your account is held. We need it to verify that you are the owner of this account, and we can make sure that everything's good and you're not a fraudster and so on. No matter what, you shouldn't give any personal information to anyone. Just no, absolutely not. And another thing, at one point, said someone realized that doesn't make sense. What are you talking about? This doesn't add up in the slightest. And you know what? I'm glad for Gutman for actually realizing that none of this is adding up in the slightest. So credit where credit's due. Yeah, and also it's just what I have to say about California in general. No matter what I say about California with its problems, its issues, and whatever negative opinions that people have on their statewide politicians, I don't hate California. I just have concerns with the issues that the state has right now. How does California continue having these issues that obviously is a massive burden, whether it be financially, physically, psychologically, and even to some extent, it is a burden to people's way of life that manipulates, no, no, not manipulates, modify people's habits in a way that seems unnatural. Not sure how, not sure how that could even be possible, yet it wouldn't be out of the question, nor absurd if there would be concerns regarding to any of that in anywhere around the world. You don't have to modify your way of life because someone tells you this thing and that thing. You need to do this to ensure this bad thing doesn't happen to you. So back to the story about the LA scam that could have wiped out life savings from people. Never stop asking questions. If something doesn't feel right, ask them. Why do you need this? What's going on? And if nothing still doesn't add up, call the number that is attached to the bank you're with, which should be separate from the number that called you about your bank details, bank accounts. Because you never know, whoever you're talking to about your finances isn't actually with whatever your provider is. And surely, and of course, lots of banks around the world should have some kind of plan or procedure and should have some experience with dealing with these kinds of frauds, providing their clients with whatever information that they need to know to ensure that when employees at the bank actually do contact their clients or customers about anything, and it is actually them, not a scammer impersonating one of these employees, it should be gotten through to them by email, or you just go to the branch where your account is based and clarify whatever needs to be clarified. So be careful, folks, with your banking and finances. It's a scary world out there. It's just... In a sweet discovery, astronomers find sugar lurking in the space between stars. What? Sugar? In space? Madness. On Monday, July 13th, 2026, researchers reported in Nature Astronomy the first detection of erythrulose, a true 4-carbon sugar, in the interstellar medium near the galaxy's center. Lead author Izaskun Jimenez Sierra of Spain's National Institute of Aerospace Technology confirmed its presence in the G plus 0.693-0.027 cloud. Using Spain's Yebis 40-meter and IRAM 30-meter radio telescopes, the team identified the sugar about 27,000 light-years away. In a molecular cloud, this marks the first true sugar in interstellar space, which Jimenez Sierra describes as huge chemical factories. Researchers posit that erythrulose forms on icy dust grains from two carbon molecules rather than the traditional sequential addition of single carbons. This finding defies astrochemistry assumptions, indicating complex chemical processes occur far from stars, a phenomenon researchers call dark chemistry. Between 0.5 and 55 million tons of this sugar could have reached Earth 4.1 to 3.8 billion years ago, scientists calculated. This influx potentially assisted early metabolic processes, contributing to the sugar inventory available before life fully formed. Scientists plan to research the RNA precursors and understand the chemical inheritance of young planetary systems. One of the most exciting next steps is to search for even more complex sugars, Jimenez Sierra told Life Science, noting the hunt for biologically important compounds. I wonder what Eric will think of this if he was here right now. I remember talking about stories like this a while ago where it's if you go to outer space, I'm not sure, but something about space last time me and Eric talked about something like this. That somewhere in space, it tastes like caramel or something. Like that you cannot you cannot make this stuff up. Now I'm hearing that there is essence of sugar found somewhere tens of thousand light years away from Earth. So, is there any plans of extracting the sugar that could be used to make anything like food, a new form of combustible fuel source for our vehicles and engines, whatnot? I'm not sure. Yet it would be pretty cool and very economically beneficial if there is a plan to do so. Blimey. Space mining. It takes me back to space mining. Rocks with metals and materials that could be used to make smartphones, making the cost of producing the smartphones a lot cheaper than it is right now. And again, uh, people are still questioning if we could even go out to space, leave our atmosphere to begin with. Yeah, oy vey. I'm not. There's a lot to think about. I thought my mic got cut off for a second. Thank goodness it hasn't. So yeah. Pitbull sets bald cap world record at London gig. On Friday, till July 10th, 2026, rapper Pitbull, aka real name Armando Cristian Perez, set a Guinness World Record for the largest gathering of people wearing bald caps, with 22,141 fans participating during his headline set at London's BST Hyde Park. British podcaster Jack Remington proposed the gathering concept on TikTok in October 2025, while BBC Radio 1 presenter Greg James later coordinated the attempt with the artist known as Mr. Worldwide. Rigorous verification required 400 volunteers and drone footage to confirm the participant count, while the festival drew a venue record 69,999 attendees, making it BST Hyde Park's largest show. Guinness World Records presented the official certificate on stage, after which Pitbull performed a cover of Oasis's Wonderwall as a tribute to England. The achievement reflects the growth of the Baldies fan movement, which Pitbull compares to Jimmy Buffett's Parrot Heads, illustrating how grassroots concert phenomena drive marketing engagement and fan loyalty. What an achievement! Well, well, well. Very well played. I don't think anything will ever beat this show, not just for BST Hyde Park, but also for Pitbull when it comes to people wearing bald caps. Maybe. For now, that's quite the achievement. History in the making, if anyone talks about it again. There was one thing I was going to say. Playing Wonderwall by Oasis as a tribute to England, in my opinion, sounds pretty cool. I'm not sure if anyone's going to point out the fact that performing in London, paying tribute to a band based in Manchester, it's not that it's not that deep. That's just me being observant. So yeah, the influence of Oasis is unprecedented. Is at scales beyond anyone's comprehension. Mostly. Yet it is expected that anything that comes from Manchester will go far and beyond from Manchester. UAE plans to build new ports, oil hubs in Gulf of Oman to bypass Strait of Hormuz closure. On Monday, the United Arab Emirates announced plans for a new port and container terminal at Fujairah, led by DP World, to bypass the Strait of Hormuz. The project could be completed within 18 months. Activity at Jebel Ali, the region's largest container port, fell 90 to 95% after Iran closed the Strait of Hormuz, forcing DP World to divert cargo to Fujairah and Khor Fakkan. Both facilities now face heavy congestion. Abu Dhabi National Oil Co. will sell offshore crude for collection outside of Strait of Hormuz, indexed to the Dubai benchmark. Earlier this month, DP World announced a $2 billion investment plan to increase Khor Fakkan capacity. These developments reflect a broader UAE initiative to reduce long-term dependence on the Strait of Hormuz, DP World officials stated. There are plans in the works around diversification to get through this disruption. Iran has fired nearly 3,000 drones or missiles at the UAE since February, intensifying regional security concerns. Moody's estimates DP World's overall earnings will fall to about $5.9 billion this year due to the conflict. Firstly, I would say is, why the fudge are you thinking of this now? Could you have not do this a couple of years ago? So when the war between Iran and the US-Israeli pact had kicked off months ago, you're already prepared for this crap. But no, you're thinking of this now because of the economical disruption with international shipping container trade. It comes to show you never know what's going to happen until it's too late. And no one is going to do crap about it until it is too late. Nonetheless, better later than never. Well, at least the United Arab Emirates are actually making an effort to diversify which part of the country is contributing to global trade and improving their national economy. As stupid it is to do this now, which would have been a lot better if this was done years ago, and they don't have to go into haywire about, no, we're stuck, we're screwed, what are we gonna do? At least they're doing it now. I question why now. At least now the UAE are thinking of diversifying trade routes and locations of wherever the economic activity happens. We're not sure if the Strait of Hormuz will ever be opened again, even after the Iran/US-Israeli war that's going on right now. Only time shall tell if what is to happen will happen, if any time, anywhere. Second US citizen diagnosed with Ebola transferred to Germany for treatment. World Health Organization. And look who's back, guys, Ebola. There's nothing exciting about that, it's just, wow, okay then. A US citizen doing humanitarian work in the Democratic Republic of Congo has tested positive for Ebola, marking the second American infected amid the DRC's explosive Ebola outbreak, and the second to be sent for care in Germany rather than the US. The Ebola outbreak, which was first declared on May 15th, is already the third largest on record, and still growing. As of July 12th, the DRC has reported 1,926 cases and 702 deaths in the outbreak, which is caused by the lesser-known Bundibugyo strain of Ebola virus. Under the Trump administration, the US has adopted a seemingly isolationist approach, implementing stringent and controversial travel restrictions and blocking the repatriation of citizens exposed to or infected with the virus. That's despite the US having multiple facilities around the country designed to safely monitor and provide high-quality care for Ebola patients in these types of situations. Is also largely removed from outbreak responses. Upon taking office, Trump moved to withdraw from the World Health Organization, which is helping coordinate the international efforts to halt the spread of the virus, though it is still outpacing health workers. On Monday, World Health Organization Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, I probably butchered that last name, said that World Health Organization had provided clinical care for the infected American before the patient was transferred to Germany for follow-up care. Now, at first I was questioning, well, why wasn't this American in DRC doing humanitarian work was sent to the US when there's much better facilities in combating the disease? And then after reading that the US withdrew from the World Health Organization, okay, that makes sense. So they went to Germany instead because, from their perspective, their country is the next highest in regards to having the best facilities in tackling the Ebola virus. That is still part of the World Health Organization. Well, I hope people in DRC are okay. They are living well, they're enjoying life, and they don't have to worry too much, even if there are so many health experts and workers in the country trying to combat whatever's going on. Then again, we would hear from people living in DRC if there's any issues going on in that country. Otherwise, despite people losing their lives from Ebola, which is quite unfortunate that people are still losing their lives to it. I'd assume there are health experts in the country. They know what they're doing, they got this under control, and they'll do whatever they can to ensure that everyone is living in their healthy lives again. Now. And that is it for the episode.